Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to the Governance Working Group call number 31. I never know whether that number is accurate. I just say it because that's what's on the agenda. So thank you, Jason, for updating that. Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2021. It's just after noon Eastern time here, and I'm on with Jason and Ryan. We have a little bit of a smaller group today. I assume that's because we're just getting back from the holidays, which makes sense. So I know some group members couldn't attend. So we're anticipating that this meeting will be pretty short and sweet, but we'll spend some time talking about our current work streams and starting to discuss our plans or goals for the upcoming quarter. So with that, we'll go into stand-ups. I'm just going to go down the list here. I'm first on the list. Okay, so for stand-ups, I haven't been working on anything too intensively in regards to governance-related work. A lot of focus has been on the upcoming mainnet launch event, which is next Thursday. That's really exciting. I'm sure that when that hits, there will be a lot of inspiration for governance work to come. But as of now, the main thing I've been doing is trying to make sure that the auto moderation bot is on track. This week we were supposed to hit we did hit a milestone, or we were meant to, for defining different community management roles. That is behind, although I don't think development of the bot itself and readiness to deploy the bot itself is behind. So we're just trying to play catch up with that. And once we get all of those criteria and community management profiles on paper, we can share that with the community, specifically the folks who are testing the bot in the test server. And we can also publish those criteria on the forum just so everyone can get eyes on it. And then after that, we'll get ready to deploy it to the actual server. So that's where we're at with the moderation bot. If there are any questions, or if anyone would like to join the test server before we move forward on deployment, please message me on Discord. Yeah, that does it for my stand-up. No blockers other than the one that I mentioned with just being behind on that milestone. And that really depends on Russ, who's leading that. And over the next 2 weeks, I expect us to deploy the bot to the server and have a lot more community members test it out. Okay, that's my stand-up. Jason, would you like to go next?
Yes, and thank you for that. I know I owe you a little bit of time on that bot, so I will need to kind of jump in there and look again. But really, really cool effort, and excited to see that coming out. So it's good to hear some updates there. For me, my stand up this week, I have actually been working through my grant proposal. So for anybody who hasn't seen that, it's just a bunch of GitHub cleanup, everything from all the different repos to standard operating procedures to a whole bunch of pieces. The part I finished now, I just updated some copy where we changed some names like Blockstack to Stacks and fixed some typos, fixed some issues and some link problems. So that part's done. First milestone is complete. I'll be moving on to the second milestone for that, and have the whole process is actually on the projects board here in the project management repository. So if anybody wants to peek in, or if there are other issues to be open that kind of go along with the content, I definitely welcome that along the way. And no blockers at this point. It's a busy time. The road to mainnet is a fun one, and it's exciting all at the same time though. So I think it's really cool what we have coming out of there. And over the next 2 weeks, I will just be moving down that milestone list and having fun as we get ready, really close to launch. That's it for me.
Thanks, Jason. Ryan, would you like to give your stand up?
Sure. So the stuff I've been working on mostly is related to getting the foundation website and the grants.io set up for mainnet launch coming next week from today. Yay. And so just doing that part's been really the focus. Any blockers around that? Not too much, just kind of keeping everything moving. Probably have to reach out for Mitchell for that guys talking to you about yesterday, Jenny, just with the font, getting that sorted out on Tilda, but nothing too crazy that I don't think can be resolved fairly quickly. So as for what will happen in the next 2 weeks, I think we're all saying the same thing, which is mainnet launch, and then excited to have the Stack Foundation ecosystem, the Stack ecosystem call today as well, and that was good. Especially lead into next week's big event, and then we'll have one the week following that foundation ecosystem call again. So, yep, keeping things moving and getting back onto a regular schedule post holidays too. So, yeah, it is kind of like Forever Mondays a little bit right now. You're right.
Thanks, Ryan. I see that Harold just joined. Harold, are you there?
Okay. It only says 3 participants on my end here.
Oh, well, never mind then. I'm sure he'll join later and can give a stand up then. Okay, actually, Ryan, so I know you just gave your stand up. Is there anything you'd like to add since you're here from the foundation and could potentially give a foundation update as well?
Sure, yeah. So it's just like I was saying, we're really just focusing on the grants program at this time, as we have been, and getting information about that out there to more and more people, as well as done Jason this yesterday, because we want the grants program to have grant.io to have Stacks login, and so that's going to be up for a grant as well. So it's very like what is that exhibit meme with having a grant inside a grant sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so really focusing on that and getting that website set up. That's really been where we're going and moving towards mainnet and kind of supporting the whole ecosystem where possible around that to make sure that people have what they need, get the content out. Yeah, so it's nothing too out of the ordinary for this kind of non-ordinary time, I guess. But yeah, it's pretty extraordinary time. And yeah, so continuing with the usual grants and everything like that too, reviews on Tuesday. So nothing different than that. Yeah, and excited as our Rafi was sending out some mailers to the grant recipients too. So I think Jason, you'll be getting some of those too.
Thanks, Ryan. All right. If there are no questions, we can go into action items.
Yeah, I think so. Or actually, we could hit those Stacks Foundation ones real quick.
Oh, right.
I don't know if there's any updates, but I do like to just show the list.
Let's forget them. Okay. So the community board seat and the call for board nominations. I believe we covered this in our last meeting. Have there been any developments since? We can look at them.
Not as far as I know. I know Sean was going to look at that further, but I think the holidays put a wrench in things. Like, not really a wrench, it's the beginning of the holiday, of course, but yeah.
Okay. So I guess to get
right.
everyone caught up, the last bit of this conversation was between Brittany and Sean. It sounds like Sean was going to take the lead on something here.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's definitely the most on top of it of anyone right now.
Okay, great. So hopefully he's on the next call or we can get some updates from him on Discord. But for anyone who wants to catch up on this community board seat issue, you can look through the thread and issue number 66 and the foundation repo. Oh, there's Harold. And board nominations.
I think this one is just an open call.
Okay.
They could still be submitted, and it's something that it remains open all the time. So that's one we can kind of go over real quick.
Okay.
Or skip over, I meant.
Yeah. I figured that's what you meant. Okay, see Harold has joined. Harold, we just finished our stand-ups, but would you like to give yours?
Yes, thank you kindly. 1 second. Sorry for being late. Trying to set up on another computer here. It's giving me big problems. But yes, it's good to see everybody. And yeah, I've been working on a few things, so happy to give a stand-up here. And the first thing that comes to mind is yesterday we met with MetaGov. I was happy to see Lane there. And we didn't speak or present or anything, but that is the plan in order to get things rolling with integration that they've offered, which I could speak more on a little bit later, to go along with some of the things that we presented here before with OI chat and policy kit options for a voting mechanism. So yeah, that was exciting. Yeah, so the idea would be to, get a time frame pretty soon on exactly how long we can get something to tinker with in terms of community experiments, for the voting mechanism. And so, the plan is to, communicate via a Slack channel that they have. I was having some problems getting connected with it, but hopefully I can get that done today and get that undergoing. But we're also excited to show you guys some SourceCred stuff that I've been doing over the last few weeks. Some of you might be familiar with it. Lane mentioned it a while back now. I think in reference to the community mod, but it has some really interesting things that may open up some modest quadratic decision making or voting for us when it comes to the voting mechanism. And I've already got an instance set up. So I think it makes a good option for tinkering with the option Jude suggested for ranked choice for the voting mechanism as an option to experiment with. And so I'm excited to show that a little bit later on as well. And has 3 plugins, which is really exciting. GitHub. So it scrapes all the data from these different plugins, and you're able to then, play with different flows of value of contributions that happen in these different platforms via reactions or comments, pull requests, or whatever the different plugin offers. So with Discord as well, there's a plugin, and with let's see, Discourse, the forum, which is exciting because of the stacks auth that we have on the forum, which isn't another, I haven't seen if it's working. I saw some things that it was giving some folks some problems recently, but hopefully it's back up working soon, or it already is. And then that
It is not.
was it?
It is not back up. It's going to be a bit probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Either way, down the line, this is interesting for a voting mechanism. Before building something from scratch, if necessary, as a means to one of the other things that Jude suggested originally. So yes, I'm excited to show what SourceCred could do. Part of the reason why I'm late, I believe Zoom had a problem with the local server I had running in the background, but hopefully I can demo something for you guys today still, and with the instance. And let's see, other exciting news has to do with a date that just got stamped this morning with Ron Eglash, and working with the Steam project and the prototype with the Longhouse and the Indigenous Council mentioned here before for the 12th, Tuesday upcoming. So excited to announce that here for anybody interested as a starting point to getting involved for the folks that are interested in any capacity, and have some more updates there as well later on. So yeah, I'll try to keep it there, but yeah, thank you kindly. I'm glad I made it on time.
Hey, thanks, Harold. Such a great update. Yes, we're definitely going to follow up, interested in that meeting on the 12th, and I'm sure everyone else is interested in going too. So we can follow up with you in Discord, and obviously you'll have your demo later, so you can speak more to this afterward. All right. Okay, so we can go back to action items quickly. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we don't have a huge group, so I think that was the same thing. We don't have a ton of action items either, I assume, thanks to Jason. So we can just go over these 2 quickly. Jason,
Yeah,
would
so
you like to go over these?
I can go real quick for these 2. They're later phases of the grant that I'll be looking at, both where we can host our GitHub pages, which is currently online, but the domain's a bit long, and then meeting conference software selection. We'll kind of revisit that topic. I think it's in milestone 5 or 6. So both of those are on my list. And probably the coolest thing that I could show off real quick is if you'll just hit new issue. We added some issue templates to help people add, because you're not logged in. That's okay.
I'm not logged in. Okay.
we can do it on another time, another call.
Okay.
But basically, when you hit new issue, there are 4 issue templates: one for the agenda, one for an action item, discussion item, or a Stacks Foundation item. When you create the issue that way, it gives you a little bit of context on what each one should be for, and it will automatically apply the label, so it'll show up in our meetings and everything else. So that was what I just pushed yesterday. That should help out with the flow of things a bit.
Oh, amazing. Thanks, Jason.
I wonder if there's a way
That
to
will
get
help.
that. So, I mean, in the long run, I wonder if there's a way to get that so it would we could like push it to grants.io. So if like one of them came up and was like, yeah, this is grant worthy, just like poof.
Yeah, I mean, GitHub does support webhooks. I don't know what information would have to be sent back and forth, but there are some really cool things you can do. So, you know, down the road, we can look at playing with that.
Cool.
Yeah, I was excited to see that this morning. You know, it was making an issue. I was like, wow, this is nice.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
appreciate
Thanks,
that. And I
Jason.
don't think we'll have anything else in action if we want to go ahead and move on to discussion items.
Cool. Yay, new discussion items. Okay, I think this is Harold. Harold, do you want to go over this quickly or?
Yes,
No?
yes.
Okay.
I briefly mentioned it already. It's
Mhm.
just I added the link that I was attached to a previous issue that was closed before, and
Okay.
that I would recreate an issue where that link to that grant draft is, but also gave some updates that are also on that draft as to what we're currently doing as it relates to the Indigenous Council and the grant application idea that we had.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
The current updates are just to split it up for clarity. There's a lot going on in this grant, and as from lessons for seen in this working group, thought it would maximize participation and clarity, particularly if we did some splitting up, particularly for the folks that we're working with at the council and other folks that we hope to get involved, so that it's not so much in one, but and as well giving that much more resources grant wise as well. But yeah, the goal is to still try to get this in for this beta. But there's also some other grants that I have in mind as well. In addition to this, I might have some time to speak about it later. I forgot to mention in my stand-up, along with the blockers as always. But yes, that's the gist of this update in terms of folks that want to get involved with this particular grant as it relates to this working group or the community. The first meeting with Ron Eglash, who will be a tremendous help in regards to digital fabrication, as well as bottom up economics and governance, and as well as applying indigenous modes into a STEAM education platform that he has plenty of experience in. So if anybody's experienced in this, and as well as attaching Web3 infrastructure that's mentioned here in this application to help sustain it, hopefully as an important model to show to the ecosystem, Stacks ecosystem, of what's possible with high value data. If any of this is interesting, please make use of this link, and we'll be happy to have you on Tuesday.
And one thing, Harold, I was just looking at
Jason.
this, like I was looking it over, because the grant committee will have to look at it, right? And so some of them will not have any familiarity. Like luckily I've had some meetings there with the Toowoomba Council and stuff, but for some folks, they won't know what Fab Lab is and stuff like that. So if you have more info in there about that for folks who are completely unfamiliar, that'd be helpful for the grant committee for sure for getting the review.
Yes, and as I said, we'll be splitting it up, and there'll be probably some changes to who's involved. It will probably be going forward with Ron Eglash, who has a lot of the same experience that Fab Academy would be able to give us right away, since he's been able to respond to us quickly. So yes, excited about moving forward with this.
All right, thanks, Harold. And so if anyone wants a little more background on that, you can look at discussion item number 125. So this one, I believe there were some updates here from both Harold and Juliet. Harold, I think that you covered a lot of your updates. Is there anything that you want to add? This looks new. Yeah, this looks new. If you want to go over that.
Yes. So yes, there's some updates on there, a little bit above here as well, but there's some screenshots there of the Discourse plugin actually being loaded into the instance.
Mhm.
I think I finally connected on Zoom. I might be able to give you guys a demo as well here, but it's very interesting. As you can see, you can play with weights there, and they have this very interesting graph architecture where they describe it as nodes and edges, and they describe it as equilibrium, similar to like water systems where the edges represent the connections between ponds, which would be the nodes, and there's always cred flowing and keeping equilibrium depending on what's happening reaction wise or in the respective plugin that you're in.
Mhm.
But there's also some interesting things because this cred is attached to grain. And this grain, can be used in a token mechanism. Can be attached, but also, it could just be used for point. You can call it points and use it as a means of distributing points based on contributions in with project specific, on a project specific basis. And so it's a very interesting ways of tracking value flows. If there's some links there as well in the update, if anybody's interested in delving a little bit more into the architecture of source cred, it seems very interesting so far in terms of just what we wanted to do with Jude's original ideas. As it, you can see with these screenshots here, the capacity to do some modest quadratic decision making. But there's also a ledger there. If you see in the screenshot above, let's see if I can get this into some type of demo for you guys with the live instance. There's a ledger as well.
It must be the Herald with the twirly mustache. There's like good Herald and evil Herald. You're still muted.
Thank you.
Oh.
Sorry about that. I think. Yeah, so that's not going to work.
Yeah, that's working now.
Left. And hopefully I can share my screen now. I think I need the permission. Sorry about the time, guys.
That's all right. Should I stop sharing, Harold? Yep.
Yes, sorry.
Should. It's all good. Let's see. I think you can screen share now.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
So here, tabs might be a problem. So yes, from the screenshots, you can get a brief idea of what's possible with the different plugins. And we can have different runs of experiments with the plugins, GitHub, Discord, Bodice. Also, I was able to set that up. There's also a link there for folks who are interested in testing that particular test server, test Discord server for this particular source cred testing for the voting mechanism grant. I think it will be pretty exciting to use 1 week for folks who are interested in tinkering with what fits our community values in terms of these weights, uh, and and play with strategies of how we can apply it. And maybe at first strictly in a governance you know means. So not necessarily using the grain for any attachment monetary, but just using it for tracking value contributions in projects, particularly for that 1 week we can track the different discussions that are happening around agreeing with these weights, and then in the next week at I believe it's set up so that there's a recalculation of credit every 6 hours every day, but then a distribution of grain at every Sunday, and there's different um, ways of distributing grain. There's an immediate distribution mechanism and a balanced distribution mechanism. I believe a third recent distribution mechanism, and these are to account for, uh, you know, uh, trying to accommodate communities that are just starting up with the immediate, with minimal history, or to incentivize immediate contributions. And then the balance goes into, um, you know, uh, you know, uh, retroactive things that may be necessary when it comes to gaming. So giving cred where it's deserved, or removing cred where it isn't deserved, and using community, uh, basically community feedback and to monitor this is some of the language that I've seen in the source code community has been their approach. And then the recent, I believe, is another um, more recent mechanism that they've come out with to incentivize, more timely grain distribution. But yeah, so what I figure is that 1 week of experimentation can go into tinkering with these weights, and the next can go into what would be similar to a time frame that we wanted for a quorum, right? That Jude spoke of in the original voting mechanism ideas. So that 2 week time frame, kind of serving as that quorum time where the first week folks can come into either one of those plug-in areas and contribute, and then the next week there's like a week's time of contributing via decision making via the grain that you earned via contributions in the previous week. So these are my ideas that I wanted to propose and get people feedback on the viability of it. You strategies that immediately come to mind. And so yes, excited about the discourse. Uh, uh, you know, Possibilities with Stacks Auth as well down the line, or whenever that gets going, in terms of what it means for the important things that go into knowing who's voting and leveraging infrastructure that's already been built to do so. Here you just see the GitHub Stacks PM repo loaded here, as well as the Discord plugin, I believe, but there's nobody there, so you just see brief contributions um, from, I believe, I believe the configuration I have is just a week back in time, or something like this in terms of the data that was scraped. And so, yes, excited to show uh, how it works here. Hopefully it's not too slow. You can see here that there's a ledger history, and so that plays a key part in how exactly the testing can happen, because the ledger, you can activate users who, the Discord's history, for example, takes quite an amount of time to load into the instance, because it actually scrapes all of the data from all the users ever in Discord. So then you need to know who to activate for, people who are actually participating in, for example, this, we actually do a test of this for the community. Um, so the 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 ledger allows you to have identities in ledger history, give you some admin capacities with the instance, so you can activate uh, users who are participating, make sure that users who aren't participating don't get distributed in a grain. For example, you can also merge identities. For the time where you want to avoid uh, you know uh, double cred distribution or grain distribution. So yes, this gives you an idea of how comprehensive the weights can be. I believe that this up here is a reference to authors of different respective things like repositories or issues in GitHub or the equivalent in Discord and Discourse. And so yes, I can play with these a little bit here and show how it changes in real time the way that the cred is reflected. Uh, uh, Doing some crazy playing here, but just to show what's possible. And they also come with default settings that have worked for the source cred community. Um, but uh, it's also interesting to think about what we can do community specific or even strategy specific with these weights for the respective quadratic funding or quadratic voting. So yes, see what the identities look like. I've already transferred some test grain, distributed some test grain as well. Hopefully, I can show you what that tab looks like without it being too slow here. Uh, I'm not looking at the GitHub here, so hopefully I'm not forgetting anything. But yes, if there's any questions or suggestions on approaches going forward with what we hopefully test with here, I'm happy to. I'm all ears here. But sorry about the time again.
That's all right. Thanks, Harold. This looks really promising. In that last window with GitHub and Discord, so grain is essentially like reputation, I'm guessing. Like I don't know if it's like reductive to say that. Does it? Yeah.
Cred,
Oh, cred
cred is more.
sorry.
Yeah, because you
Okay.
can actually transfer grain, as you can see down below, but you can't do so with cred. And
Okay.
cred.
And so in the last window, when it was showing GitHub and Discord, that calculates your contributions across both platforms.
Right. You can have even discourse in this Explorer here.
Cool.
You can have all three plugins loaded at once with a simple adding of, it's just one line of code in the configuration, and then you're adding one plugin or adding all three plugins. So yes, it's nice in that way for non-technical folks like myself in terms of what displayed in the Explorer and whatnot, or in this instance. There's also I'm not looking at the GitHub, so I wouldn't remember, but there's they've integrated GitHub Pages very nicely. I didn't even have to do much work in terms of setting up the front end. So there's they've made it nice and transparent in terms of when you're not loading local data, everything transparent in a nice GitHub Pages for the community in terms of all of the same stuff getting pushed for the tests, for example. And I'll have a local repo set up for that, but of course, if we can move it to the Stacks Gov, want to create a Stacks Gov test repo for it, or it goes through in the future, create an actual Stacks Gov repo for it. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I have tons more questions, but mostly I'm just really excited about this. This looks really promising. Does anyone else have questions before we move on?
Not questions, just wanted to say great job. I think it's really cool to see how this is pulling together. The idea being to able to adjust those weights and to play with a lot of those factors and come up with a score is super cool. And to see it running, is just neat. I mean, overall, so I think you're on a good track. If there's anything I can help you with, Harold, on the integration into GitHub, or if we want to look down that option, we'll probably throw it up as an action item and make sure we got quorum on it. But aside from that, if it was something helpful, I'm definitely more than happy to help out.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you kindly, man. Yeah. Yes, I'm excited too about it coming together and get it up running. Folks in the Discord are very helpful at SourceGrid in terms of support. So yeah, the grain here works as well. I want to show you guys it as well. But yes, yeah, if there's any more feedback or questions.
Awesome, thank you, Harold. Yeah, I do have some questions later about how these translate into votes. Like, I would love to see that demoed, but that can be for a later time because I know you're still experimenting with this.
Yeah, but yeah, actually, this page here,
Okay.
this is actually key because you notice that there's a source grid identity here, but it's not actually a person in our GitHub. But what I noticed is that you can have projects or bots in this identity and activate or deactivate them. And what I imagine, just for simple demonstration of what we can do, decision making wise for the community, simple identities can be attached to certain choices based on the discussions in that first week. And then folks can send grain to whatever identity, they want to send whatever desired amount of grain to. And that identity would, like I said, be really associated to a certain decision. So that's my idea, and the ledger keeps track of this, keep it all transparent and nice in a certain way. So yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that wasn't intuitive from the beginning, so that's really interesting.
And it's not the only thing that can be possible, I'd imagine. So I'm excited for what actually happens during the testing phases, because that's where a lot of the strategies, I'd imagine, will come up in discussion. And my plan is to hang out in Discord hangouts and bring folks into either the Discord the test Discord server, or bring folks into discussions either in any of the plugins to facilitate this. So yeah, that's the plan.
That could be something that is organized, and like we could invite people to come and try it out. Like if you need a bunch of people.
Yes, I would appreciate any help in regards to the organizing of it all as well. I know there's folks here that are far more adept at that part than myself. So
yeah, we can help you with that for sure, because I think in the grant we committed to trying to get 50 people per test, which is actually quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so happy to help with that.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Cool, thank you, Harold.
I'll try to get back to Zoom.
I think that's all right. I can share my screen. All right. Can you all see this issue?
Still see Harold's.
Oh.
Yeah, still see Harold.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop sharing, but I got the hourglass.
It's like a problem for a kindergarten class where someone's not sharing, they won't stop sharing. It's like, stop, it's someone else's turn.
supposedly I've stopped sharing Harold's screen, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, no, it's still there. But if you try to share
yours,
yours, Jenny, will it come back up and replace it?
well, I just did that and you didn't see mine, so.
Oh.
Uh,
Um,
Let's see.
could just leave. Yeah, but I'm having a hard time doing that too.
Leave and come back. That's fine. You can do that.
I think as host, you should have an option to stop the screen share too.
I have done it several times.
Of course, of course.
Maybe it's gonna sound so funny. Maybe you should leave, Harold, for a second and then come back.
I had a silly thing happened with the ecosystem call today where there's somebody coming on being loud and I muted them. Thought he was thinking it was muting for everybody on the call, but it didn't. It just muted it for me. So the person was still talking and I didn't even know. So if you're ever in Discord Hangouts.
So
Yeah.
frustrating when that happens.
Yes.
Can you guys see? Oh my God.
Double Harold.
We can still see Harold's screen.
Yes.
This is nuts.
Turn my whole computer off.
There you go.
Here we go.
Okay,
it
okay,
it
got
just
it.
cleared for me, so now I've got nothing.
All right, cool.
There, yeah, you're good. Oh wait, that's Harold's screen.
Yep.
No, wait, no, it's not. That's
Nope.
Jenny's.
Nope. It's right.
Wait, what? It doesn't even say that my screen is sharing. Oh, so
Really?
what do you see on screen?
Yeah.
Grand
No, we
Project
can
Management.
see your screen. We can just also see what was on his screen. You know what I mean?
screen.
Oh,
You're good, Jenny. You're good.
okay.
Yeah, it's
all
good
right.
now.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that, Harold. Oh, I think, well, Juliet had also, I don't think that she updated this, but she said she will be updating her project progress over the next few days. So we can keep an eye on the Discord channel for that. We've got 10 minutes left, so we can move through these quickly. This, don't know if we need to discuss this. Jason, you've made it as part of your grant, updating the branding.
Yeah, so that's going to be a part of it, and I would just like to get some ideas out. I'll probably throw a block survey out as I get closer to that milestone to get some input from people. Just following the general Stacks guidelines, but if anybody has a really cool idea or something they'd like to see, definitely encourage them to throw it in there, and it will be reviewed.
Okay, great, thank you. This collaboration with MetaGov, it sounds like we have made some progress there via Harold. I don't know if there's anything you want to add there, Harold.
No, just what I mentioned before about beginning the process, attending yesterday, and planning to present very, very soon in terms of they offered to integrate OI Chat, which is Friedger's application, into their list of integrations, which was I believe Discourse was one of the more recent on the list. So it'll be exciting to see where that goes and how long it'll take. But I should have some news on that soon.
Cool, thanks, Harold. This proposal, we've talked about putting this on some sort of backlog before, since this person who wrote it doesn't attend the calls. What do you all think we should do with it? I know it's an interesting idea. I don't imagine we'll move on it anytime soon, though.
Yeah, I think we can keep it there as an interesting idea. The bigger question that it brings up for me is, do we want a process where things go stale and they have to be reopened, or how do we keep things active? So what I'll do is I'm actually creating an action item now that'll fold into part of the grant procedures. And we'll just look a little more into that as a concept and get a vote as a group. But my feeling is that we could use something like a stale bot that says there's been no activity for X amount of days. This issue would be closed in Y amount of days unless somebody replies. And you can always reopen issues. So it's not an issue for somebody to go back and go fix it. And I think that makes sense. But I'll throw that out in a format that's easy to digest for next week's meeting.
Cool. Thank you, Jason. Oh, no, wrong window. Okay, These are also part of your grant backlog, Jason, publisher and secretary, if you want to give any context there.
So those were just originally talking more about what roles different community members could have, and possibly putting in some sort of structure for reward or just a way to help keep things moving. And other than that, I don't think we need to dig into them again. And just kind of looking down this list on the backlog stuff too. So we've got there was a working group roadmap. We're integrating that into what we're doing. Same with like shared resources and languages and translations. So a lot of those are just going to be progress as far as the grant goes. It's under the Stacks Grants repo number 30, if anybody wants to check on it. Otherwise, I think we can kind of gloss over anything that's marked backlog.
All right, great. So that leaves these two, the town hall and the fireside chat series. I can give a little background on the town hall. So I think originally we had talked about hosting a town hall specifically by the governance working group. So it would be more community oriented. I will say that after the launch of Mainnet, I don't think it makes sense for Hero to continue hosting the town halls. That might be something that falls under the foundation. Most likely it would. So the process for hosting a town hall would be the same. However, I think this does open it up to be more community focused. Not that it's not more community focused now, but there was a lot of internal coordination before that. So this is potentially an opportunity for the governance group to get involved, or it could just be something that falls under the foundation. But if anyone has any strong feelings about like absorbing the town halls that we normally have as they are, like let me know. If this is something separate from like the usual ecosystem town hall, like we want a specific one for governance, and that's also something worth considering. But does anyone have any strong feelings about the kind of town hall it is?
Are you thinking
Not
like
really. I think the idea was just to have a town hall, and to really get some more information out to help kind of build and grow that community. I don't think there's a big issue with it being a part of that or is it in a change of that. I think it'll go well with the flow.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, one compromise is making sure that there is a fixed governance section of that monthly town hall, which would sort of put the onus on us to have regular updates and to be able to have to be very transparent with the community about what we're doing. So that's something to consider too.
Something like with the Stacks ecosystem call, like we're monthly, so they're every 2 weeks, right? The one early in the month is with the evangelists, and then the middle of the month one is just, it's smaller. Essentially, it's just the elite. So we could put the governance one with that. So it'd just be like evangelist 1 week, governance next, evangelist, governance. So just rotate.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Ryan. Do you want to add a note at the bottom of this?
Sure. 68. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. And the other one, oh God, where was I? I don't know where that window is. Fireside chat series. So at the beginning of the call, we talked about just in general the different work streams that this group is focusing on. Those include obviously Jason's work with the grant and updating a lot of our standard operating procedures. There's the work that Harold is doing for the voting mechanism, the work that Juliet is doing for the code of conduct. I would count work on the auto moderation bot as definitely related to governance. So I know we're all plugging away at those things. I wanted to bring up the idea of us like taking more on this quarter. We don't have to, but if we feel strongly about like governance related goals, this is probably a good meeting to start talking about that. So we've talked about the fireside chat series for a while now. In terms of like making governance more of a thing that the community is involved in, this could potentially be a way to get them more involved. Taking responsibility of a fireside chat series that we host monthly, bringing in external speakers, getting people thinking about governance issues in general. So that could be something that we take on, or if this is lower priority, there's totally room for other ideas for projects that we can, or new goals that we can take on. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to give it some priority. Digital age. I think this is a good way to bring folks in, social media wise as well, especially if the speakers have followings of their own, or if folks in the community already, or have a particular interest in folks that we're speaking to. I know Shannon has taught myself a lot just through having some pretty amazing speakers from the space. Probably learned, I don't know, 90% of what I know just from what she's organized through the years. So I think it's a very powerful means of getting folks involved and excited. So.
Cool, thanks, Harold. I do too. I've learned so much from these talks. It's like it's like second school, really. Any other thoughts about the Fireside Chat series?
I thought it's been a great idea since it first came out. Was who could we really have some of these deeper discussions with? And I know Harold's gone out and reached out to a lot of really good contacts just with what he's been working with already. So I'd love to see it become a reality. Obviously, this week with everything going on, my brain's like, no more things, no more things. But I do see some room, for some good group effort towards things like this. And what would the structure of the town hall be? It could tie into the community board seat, because then the community board members, maybe the one who talks at the town hall, or there's a lot of these little pieces that I think we're really close to integrating them together. And this is one I'm particularly.
This could be something that's promoted by the foundation too. I think, like if you had
Mhm.
someone, and I think Shannon would be able to get some great people too to attend. So I think there's a lot of possibilities with this kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I think we are in a stronger position to float this idea and consider it. One thing that we talked about in the business models group on Monday is that, with these working groups, it's really easy to sort of lose focus because everybody, or as a group to lose focus or not have direction because everyone's working on their own individual projects, which totally makes sense. But using these groups as a space for community members to always learn about that specific category of stuff is a good way to keep those working groups going. So what I mean by that is, like Dan and I had a really good discussion about how we want to move forward with the business models group this quarter. And regardless of whether group members are working on their own things, we can have a set agenda of topics that we're going to discuss. And so if you're a new community member and you're interested in business models, you have an agenda to look forward to. So you can say, like, I'm going to attend on February 14th, Valentine's Day, because I'm lonely, and also just kidding, because I want to learn about like social media strategy for promoting my app. So determining topics that we know the community would be interested in and planning an agenda ahead of time. I think that's something that we could do with this Fireside Chat series. So for people who are unsure or on the fence about governance, but are interested in joining, they could see our agenda ahead of time and say, like, oh, I can go to this talk by Harold, or I can go to this talk by Ron Eglash in February. That's a good way for me to ease into governance in the Stacked ecosystem. So yeah, perhaps that's something that we can consider doing and putting out there for the community. We would obviously continue to have our own working group meetings and continue working together on our projects, but having something external facing for community is a good way to draw them in.
Yeah, it sounds good. Like this could be the meat and that would be the potatoes for a full
Yeah.
meal.
Yeah, exactly the way to put it. Thanks, Ryan.
No problem.
Okay, I see that we are at time. Well, we're over time, so I want to be mindful of that. Is there anything else that we want to cover? Any discussion items or questions before we move on? And then we can talk about next steps too, just to wrap things up.
I am good on my side.
Okay, cool. All right, so as a next step, we'll just sort of, I think the very first thing we should do is just give a quick rundown in the governance channel about, what everyone's working on, some thoughts from this meeting, just so everyone can catch up, sympathize after coming back from the holidays. So we'll plan to meet in 2 weeks from now. And in 2 weeks from now, we're going to be in an entirely different world because mainnet will have launched. So I don't think that there's any pressure on us to make any decisions or deliver anything in the next 2 weeks, just because we're going to have a lot more to talk about after the mainnet launches. So that would be my take on next steps. Sounds good to everyone?
Yes, yes. Thank you kindly.
Yeah, sounds great to me.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Really exciting updates. Thank you, Harold, for that demo. I'm so excited about the voting mechanism. Thanks for all your work there.
Yay.
No problem. No problem.
Yay.
No,
All
buddy.
right. Thank you all. Have a great great next 2 weeks as fun things happen.
Yeah. See you later. Bye, everyone.
See you later. Bye.